Are you or someone you know who's a lover of the Life of a Showgirl album feeling personally victimized by the amount of hate and maniacal backlash that the album is getting? And do you need group therapy because your mental health is suffering? Well, I know that I need group therapy, like truly, literally. I've been so shocked by the hate that this album has gotten, to the point that I'm like, I need group therapy. I need some people to come and step forward and defend the album. And yeah, I'm here to be the change that you want to see in the world, because I'm not seeing it. And in this video, I want to go through each track on the album and explain why and defend why it is fulfilling the prompt of being about the life of a showgirl, based on what Taylor said that meant to her, which is that it would be a peek behind the curtain when the show is over, when the lights go down, when she's when she's backstage or back at the hotel, or wherever she does her ice baths, and she's reflecting on what's going on in her life. To me, each and every song fills that prompt. So please give this video a like if you're a showgirl defender and you are happy to see more showgirl defenders out there. Leave a comment with suggestions for other video ideas. We gotta be sharing more of the popular opinions of the 4 million people that bought the album. Oh yeah, by the way, my name is Wando. But anyway, let's get into it. I'm actually going to start from the end of the album and go backwards, because I think a lot of people have more issues with more of the back half of the album as well. I also just want to start with Life of a Showgirl, because it is literally called Life of a Showgirl. Nobody really disagrees that that song isn't Life of a Showgirling. And I kind of think, had it been the first song, I understand why it isn't, and it shouldn't be, but let's say in a hypothetical universe it was the first song. I feel like the themes of this song, Life of a Showgirl, would have properly set better expectations for the rest of the album, in the sense that Life of a Showgirl is a song about how hard it is to have this life, how you're living a very public life. People have a lot of opinions about your life. I think the song references the prophecy from Treasured Poets Department that in order to do this job, it's like the more you give, the more that you pay. You have competitors who want to see you die. They want to see your career fail. That's another thing that we see as a theme throughout different songs in the album, mostly in actually romantic. So I think maybe had this song been the first song, it could have maybe set people's expectations a bit better for the rest of the album. It shouldn't have been the first song, but that's just a point I'm trying to make, and that's why I'm kind of going backwards. So anyway, obviously that song is Showgirling. The next song is Honey. I have been so frustrated by some of the criticisms I've seen about this song and how dismissive people are about the core message of this song. The core message of the song is that Taylor Swift has come up in an industry where when you're a young woman, a lot of people, your competitors, and a lot of times older men who have more power in the industry are going to be dismissive towards you. People are going to refer to you as honey and sweetheart, kind of like a slur in this industry. And they're going to talk down to you. And she clearly has developed this complex with these words where they're not romantic to her. And because of her relationship, she's having these renewed positive associations in her subconscious with this word, honey. I love this. And something that is frustrating me to see is people dismissing her experiences in this song, dismissing that anyone would go, oh, sweetheart, oh, honey, bless your heart, to Taylor Swift. People can't fathom that would happen to her. But I think people forget that Taylor Swift has only been Eras Tour, taken over the world, healed world economies Taylor Swift for almost 3 years now. The majority of her life, up until maybe the past, I don't know, maybe 6 to 7 years, maybe even 5 or 6 years, she was still a person who was rising up through the music industry, who naturally would have experienced a lot of people talking down to her, a lot of dismissiveness. There's a lot of disgusting old videos of her having to go to these different these different radio stations to promote her music when she was a teenage girl. And these radio stations being country radio. Country radio is notorious for not playing a lot of female artists, like playing mostly male country artists to this day. There's some really like frustrating statistics about that. So she came of age in a time before the streaming era where you had to go and pay your dues, and every single album cycle you have to go to different radio stations and sit through the annoying things that they make you do. Naturally, people would be talking down to you. She famously sued someone who sexually harassed her and won that lawsuit. Like, people forget that Taylor went through a lot of those things. Naturally, she would have a buildup of these negative experiences being baked in her nervous system, and the word honey and sweetheart being this negative trigger for her. You know, I've seen people say things like, what bar is Taylor Swift going to that people are talking down to her? Well, there's a bar down the street when you're going to all these different radio interviews to promote your album. You probably have to go schmooze with different industry executives at bars. Taylor Swift has been to bars in her life. Why is this like a foreign concept to people? I mean, maybe the Golden Globes, the bar at the Golden Globes. And of course, people would talk down to her who are in the industry and aren't rooting for her. There's a whole song called Actually Romantic about someone who is repeatedly mocking her. So I don't understand why people are so negative about this song. Like, it's not my favorite song sonically. I do skip the song, but in terms of it being the peek behind the curtain of what it's like to be a showgirl and what's happening in her mental health as a result of surviving this industry, I rate this song highly in fulfilling that prompt. The next song is Canceled, which I feel like this is one of those songs where it's pretty self-explanatory. I think a lot of people anticipated this song to be breaking the fourth wall of being a famous person. So I don't think I have to get into this song and really defend it. Next song is Wood. And yes, Wood is showgirling. Wood is one of a number of songs on this album that I think is acting as a foil to the song The Prophecy from Tortured Poets Department, referencing that at the time that she was writing that album, that she felt like she had to essentially trade her soul to have this career, and in that trade, she wouldn't have love. She wouldn't have, a normal life where there would be some man who could accept all of her and all that comes with being with her. It starts off really talking about that, this feeling of like, oh, I don't really have to knock on wood anymore. I don't really have to hope and pray that I'm going to have this great love. This prophecy that I thought had like damned me and damned my love life is kind of gone. That curse has been broken and I don't have to knock on wood anymore. And then the song kind of shifted into knocking on wood as a play on words for another type of wood. And you know what? I'm not mad at that. I think I read a recent study that said like 90-something% of men have orgasmed in their latest sexual encounter, and only 64% of women have. And it is a very underreported story how unfulfilling sex can be for women. I think there's a lot of societal shaming around talking about sex for women. And I think part of women struggling to orgasm is that shame that comes with talking about sex, enjoying sex, being open about it. I really appreciate that more and more female artists are being open in their music talking about sex. And so I refuse to shame this song. I do think sonically, like the melody, the hook, the cadence of the song, in terms of the singing, is a bit cheesy, but I'm never ever going to shame a woman for talking about sex. So is Wood as high up in fulfilling the prompt as other songs? No, but I do still think that it is addressing that prophecy that she was believing in, that she sung about on Tortured Poets Department. She's also singing about in The Life of a Showgirl, where it's like the more you give, the more that you pay. And this song is saying, oh, actually, I don't have to knock on wood anymore. So go Taylor. The next song is my most played song, which is Wish List. I'm so shocked that people dislike this song. I think if this song was performed by a rapper, people would be loving this song. If some rapper had the swagger to say, and you want that contract with Real Madrid, you want that video taken out the internet. Anyway, I feel like people would be loving the song if it was a rapper, and rappers and men in music in general can get away with being a bit braggadocious for revealing that they are clearly in a higher socioeconomic status than the rest of the world, and nobody cares. But the second it's Taylor Swift, everybody has a problem with it and is making a think piece about it. But I love this song. I think it's very showgirl in that it's talking about a lot of the desires that people in her industry want. They want an Oscar, and they want to obnoxiously put it on the bathroom floor instead of putting it on their bookshelf. They want videos taken off the internet of their DUI and the body cam footage. They want the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival. I love that about this song. I love that it's talking about these things that only happen for people who are very, very high achieving and existing in a higher status in society. And then she's juxtaposing that with, I just want a driveway with a basketball hoop. And I want to bake my sourdough bread in the kitchen and look out the window and see my husband playing with our kid and showing him how to. I do know Real Madrid, though. I'm a big Real Madrid fan. I'm a big fan of football, as the world calls it. So I loved that line so much. That's another thing. That's another very, like, high achieving thing. Like, the best footballers in the world get to play for Real Madrid. They all dream of that. Like little kids who are kicking a football around in the streets of Brazil and Argentina and Croatia, where I live. Like, that is like the ultimate dream. And that's why I love this song, because it's like she didn't just focus on like the high status goals of like people in entertainment, but like also athletes. And so yeah, I love this song so much, and it's showgirling for sure, because she's saying, yeah, I kind of basically achieved all that stuff, and I don't need it. I just want a man and a kid, and I want to look out onto the driveway when they're playing basketball. And that sounds like a peek behind the curtain of being a showgirl to me. Okay, so the next song is actually romantic. This is like on the Richter scale of peek behind the curtain of showgirlness. This is knocking it out of the park. This is addressing her beef with somebody else in the industry. It's even referencing their song that we all know was written about Taylor, and being that meta about things. You don't get any more showgirl than that. And Taylor Swift is the queen of a meta moment in referencing her lore that we're all aware of. So I'm not going to dive into this. I am going to make a separate video about this, because I'm sick of the internet gaslighting Taylor Swift, that she's in the wrong for finally realizing that being the bigger person isn't the best strategy. Next is Ruin the Friendship. I didn't see at first how this is showgirl, but then it really dawned on me that this is another very meta moment of this album, in that last chorus, the last repetition of the chorus, whatever, when she's saying, my advice is to ruin the friendship, and then she says, my advice is to answer the question better than regret it for all time. Should have kissed you anyway. That is obviously having a meta moment where she's referencing her own song Question, which is widely accepted to be about Maddie Healy. Of course, there was that whole uproar about her dating him and people didn't like him. And I feel like this song was a very poetic way of saying why it's so important to her to answer the question, why she wrote that song, why she entertained Maddie Healy, who clearly did a bunch of future faking with her and kind of wasted her time. Like, she has learned in life and through her experiences that you should answer these questions. It's because of situations like this where she lost a friend that she learned that in the grand scheme of life, you should answer those questions. And this is kind of a reach. I definitely think that this is the least showgirl song on the album, but it is Taylor Swift's meta version of showgirl, where she references her own work. And so it passes still. It passes. Next is Eldest Daughter. So I think people hate this song so much that they can't even bring themselves to admit that this is probably one of the most showgirl songs of the album. This is one of the songs that most is fulfilling that prompt of the life of a showgirl song, that the more you give, the more you pay. And you have to be so strong in your public facing persona. But what's actually happening behind that public facing persona, when you peel back the curtains of being a showgirl, is that you're not a savage bitch, you're not a yes queen. You're not a bad bitch, you're just a girl who wants a basketball hoop in the driveway. You're just a girl that wants to love somebody and be strong for somebody, and you just want to like give love to somebody, and you can't promise that you're always going to be this public facing perception that people have of you, where you're this bad bitch who doesn't care about some meme making fun of you on the internet. You're actually behind the scenes sometimes very sensitive, and you're just a girl who's trying to seem cool like everybody else, when your public facing persona is that you're this showgirl. But at the end of the day, you just want to love someone, you just want to give love to them and receive love in return. And so I think this song is one of the most showgirling songs of the album. I understand why people dislike it. I don't mind it, but it's showgirling. Get over it. Okay, we got 4 songs left. I'm running low on time, so let's see if I can really run through these really quickly. Okay, father figure. Very obvious why this is showgirl. It is, again, another peek behind the curtain, very meta, of her having been the young ingenue who had a father figure in the industry, and then she turned the tables on him, and she took him down, and she defeated him, and she was like, who's the father figure now, biatch? Scott. I'm one of those people though that's like, I was kind of thinking that maybe this could be about Joe. I think that's why she's kind of like vague about like the POV of the song, like whose POV is singing this song at times. And I think she's trying to be as vague as possible, because I wonder if she wrote this song and then wrote it with a particular person in mind, and then it ended up taking on a different meaning when she got to writing the bridge. That's something I'm curious about. But this is very obviously a showgirl song. I think that's why everybody loves it. And we all love Taylor winning that war against Scott and Scooter. Go Taylor. Okay, the next song is Opalite. I think that this is one of the songs that's a bit lower on the showgirl scale, but again, she does reveal that peek behind the curtain of being the showgirl, but behind the scenes, she's mending a broken heart. She has this outward persona, but when she's alone with herself, she's got that prophecy in her head. She's really revealing that she's kind of coming out of that prophecy belief, that she has this curse on her, when she literally says, I thought my house was haunted. I used to live with ghosts. Is that the only line that references those kind of prophecy beliefs? Yeah, I mean, this song is mostly just about being in love with someone. And okay, yeah, this song doesn't have too many lines where it kind of references the prophecy being undone. But another thing that this song does is that it kind of ties in with the concept of invisible string. I do like that. I'm trying to think of things to say to shoehorn it as showgirl. I'm running out of things to say. Okay, this is probably my lowest on the showgirl Richter scale. So I'm just going to be honest about that. Okay, so the next one is Elizabeth Taylor. I think this one is pretty obvious. Elizabeth Taylor, one of the greatest showgirls in history. I'm old enough to remember seeing her on award shows and watching some of her interviews, and I've watched a lot of her movies because I was always into old movies. You don't get any more showgirl than referencing classic Hollywood film stars. But this song definitely feels very glamorous in a lot of the references that she's talking about that only a showgirl would experience. That view of Portofino When Hollywood hates me, be my NY. All the guys promised they'd stay, but they withered under the bright lights of being a showgirl. But you bloomed. I mean, this is one of the most showgirl songs. This isn't one of my favorite songs, though. I know a lot of people love this song. Okay, and the last song is The Fate of Ophelia. And this whole song is about being someone in the public eye, being someone who believes that you've traded a life of love and being settled down in a happy relationship for doing this job. And therefore, the prophecy that you have to live with is this fate of Ophelia, that you're going to die alone, cold in your bed. And this song is all about feeling like she's been saved from that prophecy. And actually, she's not going to have that fate of Ophelia. And she still, despite that, gets to be a showgirl too. We love you, Taylor. Hope you guys like this video. If you are a fellow showgirl defender like me, there's more showgirl defender content coming up. I think the next video that I'm going to do, I'm going to make a video about Actually Romantic. I think I'm also going to make a video where I go through each song and go through like the majority criticism that I'm seeing about that song and defend the song against those criticisms. I'm sick of it. Okay, so love you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next video.